And they actually also need this social protection. And they also need this formality in terms of the hiring process, in terms of the insurance, for example, in terms of the driving permit, as I was saying. And if we really want to put this into place, we should also consider the actual users, meaning in many of our countries, we're talking about young people, young population, and in many of our countries, the poor population. Therefore, we should adapt also this driver's permit for illiteracy, for example, because we cannot just put driving permits for people that cannot read. So just wanted to highlight those aspects and if there's anything being considered about that.
Thank you for those questions. And we will take responses to those 3 questions, just acknowledging that we are staying between you and coffee, so if folks need to vote with their feet and move on, you are of course welcome to do so. But just to recap the 3 questions that we've received so far, one was about looking at vehicle standards, right? How there are vehicles that have the capability of going at very high speeds. What is being done to be able to cap those at the level of the vehicle itself? And then also in terms of thinking forward, looking at the licensing piece as it relates to partial licensing and how are those who are creating regulatory frameworks really looking at the industry aspect, right? I think it was the Minister of Transport from Chile yesterday who sort of issued what I interpreted as a call to action to really look at those dimensions and how to find policy solutions, acknowledging that there are not only the same solutions that work for formal sector are not necessarily going to work in the informal sector or kind of in that hybrid space. So how to adapt this as well. So would invite, and again, we'd keep your responses brief. Anyone on the panel who'd like to respond to any of these questions. Irene?
I think I touched also Maricella's question as well. I mentioned that we should have barriers to entry into the motorcycle industry, especially for public transport. And I mentioned that this would go around the issue of age, minimum training, insurance, licensing, knowledge on road safety, regulation, traffic, technology. And what this would do is ideally to have some basic or a bit of level of the kind of quality of person that gets into this industry, basically because we get lives of people or our normal people, the 40-year-olds, the professionals, and entrust them into the lives of the riskiest 18-year-olds, because our current age of drivers is 18, and they are learning from backyards or from friends, and they go to the roads because there's no barrier to entry. So I mentioned that we should have some barriers to entry into this public transport, or at least for anyone getting into the motorcycle for public transport issue. And I also mentioned that professionalizing the industry was ultimately for any public transport that is as a minimum level of professionalism that is expected. And if you look back into any public transport and formalizing it and professionalism, there are issues of medical checks, alcohol and drug, and issues of testing on a daily basis, or any kind of permits, anything, enforcement, and all those things, if you look back into them, they are all capped in professionalizing and formalizing, and also in the barriers of entry. So if we are accepting that it's a means of public transport, then we have to go into the issues of, okay, let's professionalize it and formalize it and have some barriers to entry.
Thank you so much. Any other panelists who'd like to respond to any of the questions that were raised? Greg?
I appreciate the comment from India about the speed of motorcycles and the advertising about how fast they can go. I think one thing countries could consider doing is working with industry to ensure that advertising about motorcycles is ethical and moral. We know there's a very clear link between speed and risk of death, so therefore advertising the vehicles in terms of their ability to speed and act like racing bikes is completely unethical. So yeah, a code of practice between industries to ensure there's a common understanding about that, and is the first step. If that doesn't work, then regulation would be a step. In terms of technology, that was raised a couple of times in terms of speed. I would love to see trial projects of us working with geofencing in city areas so that vehicles trapped crosses into a low speed zone. The technology ensures that vehicle cannot go past that safe speed. We could start with industry in that area. In my region, Grab would be a great partner. So yeah, I think there's a lot of space for technology trials. Let us learn how it works and make it.
Thank you, and we'll invite one final response from the panel if anyone would like to share. Niels?
So I think the geofencing has been successfully applied for e-scooters, it has been applied for public buses and so on. I think that is a great idea to see what we can do more with that. And I just wanted also to offer that if you wanted to run a campaign to show what happens if you crash a motorcycle, to show people, like we have crash test facilities, we have this kind of video. If you wanted to do your own approach to show people what does it mean to crash 100 compared to 50, I think you can also do this kind of campaigns. Achieve something, and if you need material, reach out to me.
And Esteban, please share the final word for the panel.
No, just regarding speed, we all know speed sells and speed kills. And it's not just a question of regulations. We have speed limits. We can enforce speed limits. We have ways of controlling speed. We don't have the political will to do it because speed is popular and reducing speed is unpopular. And I think that until we don't really have that political will and a society decide that we have to do this, it's not just a question of regulations. Speed limits have been there for ages. It's more than that. I think it's a change in the way that we think about speed and the way that we think about safety.
Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who has joined us today. I would encourage you to take a moment and pause and think about what is one takeaway that you'll bring with you from today's conversation. Is there an action that you plan to take? Is there a burning question that surfaced in the session that you want to address? It is going to take everyone in this room and more when thinking about what the right solutions are, whether you're here wearing your hat from government, civil society, industry, the finance sector, and more. Everyone has a role to play, and I think the strong message that I heard, perhaps not said in as few words, but that all of us need to step up and make a contribution here. So thank you for joining, and thanks to our panelists as well.